that you already know that people from Newcastle are called Geordies. The origin of the word isn't known for sure, but the suggestions are that this dates back to the mid-1700s and the Jacobite rebellion. Whilst the Northumbrians supported the Jacobites, the people of Newcastle were loyal to King George, and so with Geordie being a derivation of the name George, they became known as Geordies.
Another theory is that the term Geordie stems from the use of the Geordie miner's safety lamp that was invented by George Stephenson. Whatever the true history of the name is, it's fair to say that most people know where a Geordie comes from and will also recognise the distinctive Geordie accent.
Travel along Ford Street, you'll notice an imposing Victorian building on your left. Built in 1893, this Grade 2 listed building used to be Oosburn School and has distinctive roofs in the style of a Burmese temple.
And William Coulson's monument. If you'd like, friends, visit the Victoria Tunnel, once an underground wagonway bringing coal from a mine on the town moor to the ships on the quayside for export. In the Second World War, the tunnel was used as an air raid shelter, and it's still possible to see the benches people slept on during what must have been a scary time. Please note, you do need to book onto the Victoria Tunnel tour, and tours don't run every day.
On it gets its name, you'll see the Colonel Coulson statue. Colonel Coulson was a founding member of the Humanitarian League, formed in England in 1891. The League opposed both corporal and capital punishment and was also a forerunner to the modern animal rights movement, campaigning for the banning of all hunting for sport and vivisection. The memorial is now Grade 2 listed.
Takes us towards the quayside, one of the most iconic areas of Newcastle and Gateshead, and an important part of its industrial heritage. By 1860, the Tyne was Britain's second most important river and played a significant role in the country's industrial revolution. The quayside allowed huge quantities of coal mining in the region to be exported easily, powering the industrial revolution in other parts of the country.
For centuries, Newcastle was recognised as the home of coal, leading to the popular phrase, taking coals to Newcastle, which means a totally useless endeavour. Linked closely to this were the many shipyards along the River Tyne that built countless ships over many decades. Most of this heavy industry has now gone, but the wealth this once brought can still be seen in some of the impressive buildings that line Newcastle's quayside. Down towards the River Tyne, we pass the site of the former Tyne Tees television studios, which were on your right as we turn onto Sydney Road. The studios were famous for producing the cult 1980s music show The Tube, presented by Paula Yates and Jules Holland, which ran for 5 years with bands like The Proclaimers, ZZ Top, U2, and Frankie Goes to Hollywood. famous Newcastle stage.
We are now heading down to the Newcastle side of the quayside. On your right, the imposing building is the Law Courts, constructed in red sandstone from Dumfriesshire at a cost of £17.1 million and completed in 1990. The next stop is the main stop for the quayside. Alight here to take in the views, walk across the Millennium Bridge to visit the Bodleian Gallery, enjoy something to eat or drink in one of the great cafes and restaurants, or just take a relaxing stroll and enjoy the atmosphere.
Enjoy one of the most famous views of the Tyne's bridges as we pass along the quayside, with 7 bridges in the space of half a mile. The Millennium Bridge opened in 2002 and was the first of its type in the world to open. The bridge rotates and, when viewed from one of the other bridges along the river, it looks like a blinking eye. The next bridge is the instantly recognisable Tyne Bridge. It's a myth that the Sydney Harbour Bridge was modelled on the Tyne Bridge. Construction of the Sydney Harbour Bridge actually started before that of the Tyne Bridge, though both were constructed by the steel producer Dorman Long, based just down the road on Teesside.
The Swing Bridge, which will be crossing soon, opened in 1876, and beyond that is the High Level Bridge, which opened in 1849, making it the oldest bridge still crossing the Tyne. It was unique at the time of its construction, being the only bridge to carry a railway on its top deck and a road on its lower deck. Further along the river, you will see the Queen Elizabeth II Bridge, which opened in 1981 and carries the Tyne and Wear Metro. And then beyond that,
our next stop is for the Guildhall. This is the historic heart of the quayside and was formerly the medieval heart of Newcastle, home to many wealthy merchants, and some of their timber-framed houses still exist today. As we approach our next stop, Tyne Bridge North, you'll see 55 degrees north, which is the building in the centre of the roundabout, so named because of the city's latitude being 55 degrees north of the Earth's equator. Prior to being named 55 degrees north, the building was known as Swan House, after Sir Joseph Swan. Welcome on board the Toon Tour.
as we cross the River Tyne over the Swing Bridge, we head into Gateshead. The hydraulic mechanism used to open the bridge today is the same one installed in 1876 by William Armstrong. Electrically driven pumps feed a hydraulic accumulator sunk into an 18-metre shaft below the bridge. The water is then released under pressure, which runs the machinery to turn the bridge.
Towards the Glass House and St Mary's Church, the next stop on our tour. The Glass House, previously known as the Sage Gateshead, is a magnificent concert hall opened in 2004. It provides unrivaled facilities for people of all ages to make, hear and learn about music.
Why not take a walk through its glass-fronted concourse with excellent views across the River Tyne and of the Tyne Bridge? There's a cafe inside so you can stop and enjoy the views.